Hi guys, my name is Elin, and we are continuing our conversation about answering the question, how do we stay connected in our marriage? And if you haven't had a chance to listen to the other videos, I encourage you to go ahead and do that first. So the third category that we're going to talk about as it relates to intimacy is spiritual intimacy. God created both of you, and He created marriage. And He loves you, and He loves your marriage. And He designed you and your spouse to be able to connect in ways that no other person can connect with you. And this is really, really important. And spiritual intimacy is also really important. Now, if you are in a marriage where you would love to see your spouse grow in this area, maybe you have been a Christian for longer than your spouse has, or maybe you feel that you have grown in your relationship with the Lord and it seems like your spouse may not as much be growing like you would like to see him or her, I just want to encourage you with a couple of things that you can be doing to help that along the way. You don't necessarily need to have a conversation about it with your spouse, but just as an individual, I want to encourage you to pray. Pray, pray, pray. Pray to God that He would move in your spouse's heart, that He would show Himself to be real in your spouse's life, that He would grow in your spouse's heart. Just pray and do not stop praying. Another encouragement that I'd like to give you is just to make sure you as an individual are living the way that God wants you to, and let God work in the heart of your spouse. There's a verse in Zechariah chapter 4, verse 6 actually, where God says, not by strength or by force, but by my Spirit. God is the one who works in hearts. It's not up to you as the husband or the wife to your partner to change them. That is something only the Lord can do, and He calls us to keep our eyes on Him and to love the way that He shows us to love. And so I want to encourage you to just keep doing that and keep praying for your spouse. And I want to encourage you also, if you want to be going to church and maybe your spouse doesn't, it's okay for you to go ahead and go into church, even if your spouse doesn't attend with you. That doesn't need to be a point of contention or an argument or any kind of resentment or even a conversation. But if you feel convicted about going to church and attending church, I want to encourage you to get connected in that way and just trust the Lord will work in your spouse's heart. And I hope that you'll be encouraged by the small steps that you see being taken in your spouse as they continue to grow. I mentioned Zechariah 4:10 in an earlier video, but it says, do not despise small beginnings, for the Lord rejoices to see the work begin. And that is so true. He does rejoice. And so just be really encouraged that when your spouse takes a step in the right direction, that is a huge win, and that you should be encouraged and know that the Lord rejoices in that, and just continue to pray that there's more to come, and be an encouraging husband or wife to your partner as they continue to grow in their journey with God. So some ways that you can grow your spiritual intimacy in your marriage is first and foremost to pray together. There's a common saying out there that says the couple that prays together stays together. And it's true. Praying together is such a powerful moment that you share, an intimate moment that you can share with your spouse. And it doesn't have to be some long, in-depth prayer, although those are great. It could just be praying together for your children, or praying together for another couple or someone in your life. It doesn't have to be about anything specific, just getting in the practice and the habit of praying together, going to the Lord together as husband and wife. It's very connecting, not only with each other, but also with God. A second way that you can grow in your spiritual intimacy with your spouse is to ask your husband or your wife, how can I be praying for you? This is a really special question to be asked. I mean, if Tab ever asked me, or when he asked me, hey, Elin, what can I do? Well, how can I be praying for you? Gosh, it makes me feel so loved and so thought of. And then to know that my husband is going to our God and asking Him for something on my behalf is so very powerful, and it's very comforting and reassuring. So ask each other, get in the habit of saying, how can I be praying for you today? And even if your spouse hasn't shared with you some way that you can be praying for him or her, just pray anyway. I start every single day off praying for my family. In fact, my trigger to know to pray for them is actually when they leave in the morning. When I hear the school bus drive by in front of my house, I immediately lift up my children and all the different things that I am praying for them. And then I hear the garage door go down and my husband's car start as an indication he's heading to work. And I spend that time and I lift him up specifically and I pray for him. And I certainly pray for him throughout the day, but this is a time every single day that I'm really intentional about taking a few moments and praying for him. So even if he hasn't asked me for something specific, I just take that as an opportunity to let God's Spirit lead me and lift him up, lift up my husband. And it blesses me, and I know that it blesses my husband. Another way to grow in your spiritual intimacy together is to go to church together. I am a pastor, and one of the things that happens when you have ministry as a vocation is sometimes it's hard to attend church because you're busy being what people need from you as part of the church. And so one of the practices that I have been really intentional about in my relationship with my husband is to make sure that I attend at least 3 services a month by sitting next to him. He comes every week, but I don't want him to sit by himself, and I don't want to not be in there. And so I have been intentional about saying, no, for these 3 services, and hopefully 4, but at least 3 services a month, I am going to make sure that I'm sitting next to my husband. Hand in hand or leg touching leg or his arm around me, but sitting together, looking to God, listening for encouragement, worshiping together. It is so, so powerful what can happen in a marriage when you are hearing the truth spoken to you and over you, and you're speaking it out in worship together alongside each other. It's very powerful. So attend church together anytime that you can. And one more way I'd just like to encourage you to grow in your spiritual intimacy with your spouse is to surround yourself with other couples who are seeking God just like you, who want the best for their marriage and who want the best for your marriage. Make sure you're surrounding yourself with healthy relationships and with people who love you and who love God.